mind, but the news was just announced that WNBA TV ratings are down more than 50% since Caitlin Clark's injury. And it was also reported that the Indiana Fever television viewership is also down over 53%. Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA.
The WNBA just discovered the hard way that without Caitlin Clark, life would be a complete nightmare and unwatchable, much like Netflix without Wi-Fi. At 2 a.m., playoff ratings decline 1% quicker than your phone's battery. The league is currently frantically trying to figure out how to keep fans interested. Did spectators simply turn to pickleball highlights, or did they truly disappear into thin air? Stay tuned, as this playoff fiasco is more entertaining than today's reality TV reunion.
Is there any chance that the WNBA, that Kathy Engelbert saw some of the ratings that I'm about to show you now and said, hey, Indiana Fever, can you do us a favor? Can you do us a solid? Can you just tease a Caitlin Clark return, kind of boost these up a little bit? Can you just dangle a Caitlin Clark return in front of the fans' faces, try to boost these ratings up a little bit? There was one matchup that this league can consistently rely on to produce massive viewership numbers.
The WNBA hoped that this season would be the turning point, the big year, the breakthrough, the season that the league emerges from the shadows and demonstrates its ability to compete with the big guys. Rather, it seems as though the league as a whole took one huge preparation mistake, fell headfirst into a pail of nacho cheese, and then attempted to seem as though it was all part of the plan.
A shocker. Imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise when Uncle KC found out that the WNBA is struggling to maintain their ratings without Caitlin Clark. To make matters worse, and this is something I have definitely noticed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially since the All-Star game, the WNBA seems to be struggling to maintain interest.
Let's be straightforward. The WNBA season has been both spectacular and devastating. A commissioner who seems to believe that player health is merely a suggestion, a number of injuries, and foul calls that appear to have been made by referees wearing legally broken glasses were all there when you were watching the basketball game. You most likely tuned out the moment if you were watching for amusement, because her ankles appear to have been deemed public property by her attorneys, who treat her like a human crash test dummy. Caitlin Clark spent more time on the bench than in court.
Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport.
How was the attendance for Team USA in the Olympics? What would it have been like if Caitlin Clark was playing on that team? Remember the first game? Look at this right here. National broadcast viewership. What are we talking about here? 1,000, what is that? 1.219? Is that the number? And the game afterwards got 485,000. So the Fever in their game against the Minnesota Lynx was 1.219 million.
When the most thrilling aspect of the season has been fans attempting to determine whether the league will disintegrate before the playoffs are over, you know something is amiss. The thin bit of duct tape known as "please don't notice how bad this is keeping in place. Spoiler alert.
NBA's black superstars should thank their lucky stars for the record ratings Caitlin Clark is detonating, even if new fans are mostly white fans. It doesn't matter what color eyeballs are. But the other day, I must admit, it hit me like Katie Bell Henderson telling me that's enough. I told myself it's not racist for me to like Kate.
Speaking of poor, what about the calls that were officiated? Yes, it appears like this season's referees were taken from a mall food court during lunch rush. As they consider whether to call a flagrant foul, one of them is still munching on a piece of Sparrow pizza. It appears that another person believed they were hired to officiate a roller derby. The consistency lies in the middle of Fortune Cookie and Magic 8 Ball. A single game is worthless. Someone who sneezes too forcefully during the following game will be kicked out. This year, if the officials had their own player stat line, it would show turnovers and 0 questionable calls in each and every possession.
WNBA has a problem, and that problem is Caitlin Clark not playing in WNBA games. Now, what all does this affect? The ratings are plummeting. Guys, there's ratings for a couple of these games that are eye-popping.
The thing is this, all of this is not taking place in a vacuum. For years, the WNBA has been pleading with people to give it attention, to consider it as more than a passing fad, and to take it seriously. However, the league isn't helping it either. The commissioner appears to be allergic to player safety, as though upholding the law and safeguarding celebrities is simply too extreme. In an attempt to determine whether the hype was genuine, people really tuned in. The days before the Clark injury were the best. All of a sudden, ESPN was acting as like they were interested. SportsCenter featured highlights, and Twitter users feigned to understand what a pick and roll is. However, the numbers fell more quickly when she left than Angel Reese's desire to see the season through to the end. It seems as though the WNBA has finally realized what happens when one player is your marketing strategy and your refereeing strategy is to let her get struck in the face. Now, some supporters could counter that foul calls are a natural part of the game, injuries happen, and this is merely a bad patch. Let's face it, though, this is more than just bad luck. The leadership is poor. Similar to a substitute teacher who has lost control of the class, the commissioner has been kicking back. The league intensified its disregard for issues rather than addressing them. Star athletes quitting. Hey, it's all right. Games are rendered unwatchable by referees. Fans will remain, so don't worry. You guessed it, they didn't.
Trend that the WNBA is excited about. That's a trend that Kathy Engelbert would say, hey, Fever, hey, Lynn Dunn, hey, Kelly, hey, Amber, can you guys start dangling that Caitlin Clark return like you used to do? You know, before Caitlin Clark gave a statement and you guys were hands off. Can you guys, just string them along a little bit more? We want to get these ratings back up. We want to get these numbers.
The players who remain healthy are compelled to participate in matches that resemble professional wrestling and rugby more than basketball. You can't tell if you're watching the WWE SummerSlam or a playoff game half the time. You anticipate that someone will seize a steel chair at any time. The commissioner continues to conduct interviews in the meantime, discussing the league's expansion and momentum. Yes, and each time I wear high heels, I get taller. It would be equivalent to calling a house fire a new lighting design to refer to this season's growth. It's irrational. Despite the system around them collapsing, these ladies are out there giving it their all. They are not worthy of representatives who whistle as though they are at a toddler's birthday celebration. They are not worthy of leadership that views their well-being as an afterthought. They don't deserve a league that ignores them the moment things go difficult and only promotes them when it's advantageous. The WNBA season is now dragging to an end, with ratings sagging, players on the injured list, and supporters questioning whether the league can even make it through another season like this. Congratulations if this was meant to be the season of growth. It developed into the largest possible mess.
Indiana, against the Chicago Sky, right after that game, they opened an investigation once again into the fans, where they found nothing, but the damage had already been done at that point. If some of these things happen just one time here and there, or there's one certain media personality who's just always saying these kind of things, then whatever. I feel like fans as a whole can be like, okay, whatever, this person is just a hater. But this is something that has happened over and over and over again, and over time, it starts chipping away at how much you're going to actually care and want to support an organization if they continue to do things like.
Perhaps the commissioner will give player safety more consideration next year. Perhaps the officials will be taught the definition of a foul. It's possible that athletes like Caitlin Clark won't be forced into early retirement at the end of a season. However, the WNBA is in danger till then. It's not that supporters don't care either. The reason is that leadership doesn't. The WNBA anticipated that ticket sales would soar this year. The year when stadiums would be crowded and people would line up outside as if the new iPhone had just been released. Rather, the reality has been empty seats that reverberate louder than the whistles of the referee. You can practically hear popcorn sellers wailing into thin air, pleading with anybody to purchase a hot dog. The majority of games' ticket sales resemble the clearance section of a bankrupt department shop. They claim that while fans are growing their Netflix queue rather than viewing, we are growing the fan base. The WNBA ticket sales actually fell apart more quickly than a Jenga tower after an earthquake, without Clark attracting spectators, Cunningham on the floor, and recreating drama. The league's attempt to spin it is the most hilarious aspect of all of this. Posts on social media continue to appear as though nothing has changed. They think it will be another thrilling night of WNBA play. In the meantime, supporters are asking in the comments, where's the excitement? Which game in a different dimension were you referring to? People are uploading memes of tumbleweeds rolling across empty seats in the replies. When your own marketing tweets turn into a comedy performance for followers who have obviously lost hope, you know something is wrong.
Clark thing, man. I mean, it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing what you guys have done. And then people are catching on to your tactics. You got the people on Twitter catching on to your tactics. Like, look at this right here. Look at this right here. They say ESPN didn't want to show the ratings were down from WNBA All-Star Game because Caitlin Clark.
Not to be overlooked is the commissioner herself. Her act of pretending everything is fine is worthy of an Oscar. She appears on television to discuss how the league is in its strongest position ever. That would be equivalent to the Titanic's captain boasting about how beautiful the ship seems underwater. Technically speaking, it is still floating, but not in the manner you desire, like a magician trying to divert your attention with card tricks while the entire theater is on fire. The commissioner has turned into a master of denial. Additionally, she remains silent or, worse, responds with a prefabricated statement about examining our protocols when people criticize her, demand accountability for all the injuries, the awful officiating, and the glaring lack of player protection. Medical personnel arrive like the moon landing. Suddenly, references remember how to enforce the rules. The league goes to great lengths to safeguard its revenue generators. Because guess what? No one will watch if you don't have stars. Ratings die without your stars. Ticket sales plummet when your stars are absent. It isn't very difficult. It is simple business. The NFL is no different. Quarterbacks are regarded as precious pieces of art. Referees will raise a flag more quickly than you can say, roughing the passer if you breathe too hard on Patrick Mahomes. Play on, the referees say as Caitlin Clark is body-checked into the scorers table in the WNBA. There is nothing to see here. Fans are understandably incensed. It's no surprise that people are tuning off.
Well, how about this? Pay us what you owe us. That looks like a ham sandwich and some Lay's tater chips right now. It's getting bad. I feel bad for Caitlin Clark. She come out and said on Sue Bird's podcast that she's feeling the pressure of not playing in these games. And that Fever Sky viewership fell off the map.
And since they truly deserve medals, let's take a moment to speak about those fans. Imagine remaining in this league for the entire season, purchasing tickets, purchasing jerseys, and cheering on the athletes only to be met with mayhem, injuries, deserted arenas, and officiating that elevates high school intramural sports to a professional level. The ardent supporters must feel as though they have been stuck in a poisonous partnership. They continue to hold out hope that things would improve, but the league ignores their anniversary, damages their vehicle, and then accuses them of not providing enough support. There is a lot of frustration on social media. You see the same remarks whenever the league shares highlights. Keep Caitlin Clark safe. The leadership is where? Why does this referee work? Why do tickets for games that resemble Sunday pickup at the YMCA cost more than my phone bill? It goes on and on. Since it certainly appears to be. They are unable to pay for another season like this. Tanked ratings. Sales of tickets are embarrassing. Star power is gone. As soon as Clark was benched, momentum vanished. Don't worry, we're growing, the commissioner says as he stands above the league, which seems to be hanging over a cliff by one pinky finger. Let's be honest. It won't be because fans didn't care if the WNBA fails. It won't be because female athletes can't succeed. The reason for this is that the league's leadership failed the players, the supporters, and itself. Because it seems like a new episode of Who's Hurt this year. How do you create a league that can last? In what ways may referees foster loyalty when they render games unwatchable? When your best players are more likely to finish the season on crutches than with a trophy, how do you grow?